continue. Yeah. So this is the last thing we stopped. We were talking about the gallbladder, and last thing we did was we highlighted an important fact إنه surface anatomy or surface marking of the gallbladder is at the right 9th intercostal space mid-clavicular line. تمام؟ قلنا this is a very important thing بالذات امتحان الDR. Okay? طيب يلا next we'll talk about the pancreas. يلا when it comes to the pancreas, there's not much to say. I'm pretty sure there's barely ever any questions about the pancreas. في parts of the pancreas, the head of the pancreas, the uncinate process, neck, body, and tail. One thing to know about the tail specifically is that the tail بيكون خاشي في السبلين. تمام؟ And the blood supply حق pancreas is from the pancreatic or duodenal arteries. تمام؟ That's all I want to say about the pancreas. You need to know the parts of the pancreas. One more thing about the pancreas is that it's retroperitoneal. So قاعد behind the peritoneum. تمام؟ So 3 things about it. The parts of the pancreas, the tail of the pancreas is entering the spleen, that the يعني قاعد في الهايلم of the spleen. A third thing is that it's retroperitoneal. تمام؟ But now we'll just go to the thing that's really interesting, which is basically the portal circulation. Yalla, we talked about the blood supply of the abdomen in details, but we did not talk about the venous drainage of the abdomen. So we're going to be talking about that. Yalla, the venous drainage of the abdomen or of the GIT mostly is by the portal vein. تمام؟ يلا البورتال vein دي it's formed by all of the venous drainage حق الforegut, midgut والhindgut. Okay? And what's important about the portal vein أول حاجة is what are the tributaries of the portal vein. Now, when you say tributary, it means in what forms the vein. يعني مثلا في الartery كنا بنقول branch. Tributary is like the opposite of a branch. It's what forms it. يلا, 2 main tributaries that form the هنا are the splenic ومعاه inferior mesenteric, I think. Yeah. So wait, I'm not. Let me double check. Is it splenic and inferior or splenic and superior? I need to make sure. Yeah, sorry, it's splenic and superior mesenteric. Okay, I have to double check. Yeah. So basically, السplenic والsuperior mesenteric سوا اسمه علينا البورتال vein. تمام؟ splenic والsuperior mesenteric. بعد ذاك it receives other branches into it. تمام؟ يعني the main 2 branches that form are 2 main tributaries that form the portal vein are the splenic vein, the superior mesenteric vein. بعد ذاك عندنا other veins join into it to form the portal vein. تمام؟ يعني all of the others count as tributaries لكن they're the main ones. Okay? يلا, that's the first thing you need to know. إنه tributaries حقتهم السplenic والsuperior mesenteric. The second thing you need to know is إنه الportal vein gets all of the branches أو venous drainage from the foregut, midgut, and hindgut. تمام? So it gets the duodenum, the ileum, the stomach, and all of these. Okay? So again, I'll just repeat it again, that the tributaries of the portal vein are from the splenic and superior mesenteric. Tamam? Yalla, the thing that's important about the portal circulation itself is that there is حاجة اسمها portosystemic anastomosis و portal hypertension, which I mentioned today. يلا, portosystemic anastomosis ده شنو؟ قلنا هما the areas where the portal and systemic circulation meet. تمام. So there are areas in the body where there's meeting between systemic and portal circulation. يعني بيكون في portal circulation due to it being part of the GIT. وفي جزء تاني that's not part of it, that's receiving systemic venous drainage. والحتة بتكون بتلاقوا. For example, I'll use the first example, which is the lower third of the esophagus, which is coming from the بيكون فيه two circulations. في the upper third, 2/3 from the thorax, while lower third is from the abdomen. So في الحتة دي بيكون في meeting between the azygous vein والportal vein. Make sense? I'll show you a picture so that it makes more sense. And let's take this picture into consideration. Look at it. يعني in the areas بيكون فيها the portal circulation, systemic circulation meet, and the first one is the esophagus. هنا what happens is إنه في part superior part of the esophagus بيشيل azygous vein, while the lower part of the esophagus بيشيل gastric vein. تمام؟ يلا gastric is portal, while azygous vein is systemic. فالحتة دي بيكونوا بتلاقوا فيها systemic circulation مع portal circulation. That's the first area. The second area is in the liver. في حتة اسمها bare area of the liver بيكون في meeting برضه between portal systemic. The third area is في around the umbilicus. So around the umbilicus, in the superficial veins of the abdomen, هم systemic. وفي تاني veins جاي من portal vein. فالحتة دي بتلاقوا البينين دول. fourth area في الركتم تحت. So في الركتم عندنا الركتم superior part of it is part of the I'll repeat it in a second. The superior part of it is part of the inferior mesenteric, while the inferior rectal vein is systemic. So I'll repeat it يا جماعة دقيقة. Okay, so let me repeat it. So عندنا 4 areas, هم 5 actually, لكن نقولهم من الأول. الأولى is the lower third of the esophagus. Between the azygous vein and معاها left gastric vein. الazygous is systemic, while the left gastric is portal. تمام؟ السكند area is في bare area of the liver. دي ما مهمة شديد. يعني دي الأولى دي it's very important. The bare area of the liver. The third one is in the anterior abdominal wall. في حتة اسمها paraumbilical area. Here it's between the anterior abdominal wall vessels and paraumbilical vessels, which are part of the portal. تمام؟ يعني ده portal وده systemic. تاني fourth one is in the retroperitoneal area. برضو it's not important. Fifth one that's actually important is in the rectum, between برضو lower third part. The upper third is by the superior rectal or middle rectal, which are portal. The lower part is by the inferior rectal, which is systemic. تمام؟ I'll repeat it again. طيب يعني هنا 3 مهمين هو lower esophagus والparaumbilical area والlower rectum. تمام؟ ال3 هي دول هم where we meet a systemic circulation مع portal circulation. طيب يلا هو what's important here is that whenever we have a problem with the portal vein في cases of liver cirrhosis, what happens is that the liver تبقى فيها cirrhosis around the portal vein. the portal vein is no longer able to get its blood supply or get its portal circulation into the liver. So what happens بيبقى في backflow of blood. تمام؟ يلا due to this backflow of blood بيبقى في really increased pressure in the portal vein increased blood in the portal vein. نسميه portal hypertension. يلا ما يحصل portal hypertension, the blood is gonna go and it's not gonna find an area to go to except these 5 areas, because these 5 areas the blood can take the blood from the portal to the systemic, therefore reducing the pressure. So areas دي بيكون بيحصل فيها dilation of the veins. يعني الفين بتكون لو دي portal vein ودي systemic vein ودي area where the veins they'll meet, هيقوم يزيد الpressure في portal 1 and literally pushes backwards. So this area becomes dilated. And when it becomes dilated, بيكون عندنا risk of bleeding, أو in some areas it just looks dilated. طيب عندنا 3 symptoms which you would find في portal hypertension. الأولى هي in the esophagus, which we call esophageal varices, which basically results in vomiting of blood. Now, في الrectum بنسميها rectal hemorrhoids. Which basically you برضو end up with stool that's full of blood. And آخر واحدة في parambilical area, which basically since the parambilical area بيكون فيها it's not gonna bleed, لكن it's gonna look dilated. We end up with an appearance that looks like this, which basically this is the umbilicus. We'll end up with dilated veins that look like that, تمام? Coming out of the umbilicus. When we end up with that, people like basically say it looks like Medusa's head, like from Greek mythology. Medusa's this witch that had her hair looks like snakes. So basically they say it looks like it. So they call it caput Medusa. So the symptom is my caput Medusa. Right? So you get 3 symptoms. You get esophageal varices, which cause vomiting of blood. You get caput Medusa, which is dilation in the anterior abdominal wall in the area of the parambilical area. And you get rectal hemorrhoids, which is basically you have stool that's filled with blood. تمام you guys? I'll show you it again here. Just look at it real quickly on this picture. You can look at it here. We've got a caput Medusa هتيجي هنا في ال anterior abdominal wall. You'll end up with rectal hemorrhoids في ال rectum, so because of dilations, we'll end up with dilations in the esophagus. تمام? Okay, I'll repeat again. دقيقة بس. So إننا هيحصل لنا شنو؟ إننا قلنا هيحصل لنا أول حاجة. Wait a second. Just a second. أول حاجة قلنا إنه هيحصل لنا dilatation. Do you want me to explain من ال concept of portal? What's the portal circulation وكده؟ ولا just starting from the
hypertension.
Okay, تمام. So portal hypertension بيحصل أول حاجة basically I'll draw it here. What happens قلنا إنه بيكون عندنا blood flow. إحنا قلنا عندنا area where the blood is going in one direction, تمام؟ والمش going from systemic لportal، صح؟ يلا الحتة الareas دي الareas بتاعت portal systemic anastomosis بيكون في supply من both systemic and portal. Usually البلد بيكون ماشي عادي، لكن لما يحصل portal hypertension بيقوم البلد بيجي راجع عكس. So the blood tries to go from portal to systemic. فبيكوز of that بيكون في a lot of blood or because of high pressure of blood hypertension بيقوم بيحصل لنا dilation للveins دي. So الveins دي بتبقى very dilated. The areas that get affected the most are three. الأسوفاجس بيبقى فيها esophageal varices which will result in us vomiting blood. والrectum هيكون فيه rectal hemorrhoids which is basically إنه بيكون فيه blood في الstool برضه. وآخر حاجة إنه بيكون عندنا حاجة اسمها caput medusa which is basically due to the dilation of the para-umbilical veins. يعني لو قلنا ده umbilicus هيكون في veins that are dilated coming out of it كده. And people call this symptom caput medusa. تمام؟ So those are the three things you'll end up seeing in portal hypertension.
Okay, thank you.
تمام. Great. طيب. كده we talk about portal systemic hypertension, portal anastomosis, portal hypertension. Next عندنا نتكلم عن الابdominal posterior abdominal wall شوية. يلا posterior abdominal wall فيها 4 important muscles. لكن we're only going to talk about 2 of them today. So فيها psoas major, psoas minor, quadratus lumborum, وإلياكس muscle. تمام؟ we only want to talk about the psoas major or quadratus lumborum, but for the DR specifically, it's very important that you know all 4. لأنه I'm pretty sure in each exam, there's always one of them labeled. So this is the psoas major. This is the psoas minor. The quadratus lumborum. Or the iliacus. Well, show them again. This is the psoas major. Well, this is the psoas minor. The quadratus lumborum. The iliacus. So these are the 4 muscles. We'll be talking about the psoas major and quadratus lumborum for today. So a psoas major, الأوريجين حقها from the 5 lumbar transverse processes. الانسيرشن حقه في الليفت retrocantler of the femur. يعني الأوريجين حقها from the first 5 transverse processes, lumbar transverse processes. والinsertion حقه في trochanter, lesser trochanter of the femur. تمام؟ الانرفيشن حقه في اللumbar plexus L1 to L3 والاكشن flexion of the thighs. تمام؟ يعني it's more important to remember الانرفيشن والorigin والinsertion ما مهم الاكشن فيه صوص شديد. It's more important لما تيجي تدروا lower limb في الابدومن ما مهم شديد. في quadratus lumborum الorigin حقه في lumbar ligament والinner lip of the iliac crest والinsertion حقه في transverse processes of L1 to L4 معاه 12 rib. يعني as you can see in this picture بيجي من الإيلياك crest وبيطلع فوق لل4 transverse processes ومعاه الرب. تمام؟ is it clear؟ يعني يمشي من الإيلياك crest طالع فوق لل12 rib ومعاه transverse processes while الpsoas كانت جاية نازلة الquadratus lumborum بتكون طالعة فوق. تمام؟ طيب طيب تاني في الانرفيشن حقت الquadratus lumborum is the lumbar plexus برضو لكن L1 to L4 والاكشن حقه في lateral flexion of the vertebral column وfixes the 12th rib during inspiration. برضو not that important في موضوع الحماية. يلا psoas major is more important, so I mean if you couldn't memorize them all, you don't have the time, I would just memorize the psoas major and leave the rest, to be honest. This is pretty much what I want to talk about في posterior abdominal wall. Any questions في posterior abdominal wall? المسلز. طيب next we'll talk about the retroperitoneal organs. تمام. So our retroperitoneal organs هما organs that found behind the peritoneum. تمام. وهنا بس يعني I'm just gonna be talking about the mnemonic. أديكم mnemonic where you basically can memorize the retroperitoneal organs كلهم. اسمها SAT pucker. تمام. So just memorize. It's just a memorization thing. You can find it في questions كتير and it's very easy. But as long as you know these, you're good. تمام. So عندنا organs there هم SAT pucker, which are found behind the peritoneum. تمام. عندنا suprarenal glands, aorta والinferior vena cava, duodenum, specifically the second and third parts, pancreas, excluding the tail, the ureters, the colon, I think only the ascending and descending, the kidneys, esophagus, rectum. تمام. يعني عندنا suprarenal gland, aorta inferior vena cava, duodenum, pancreas, ureters, colon, kidneys, esophagus, and rectum. These are all the organs which are found behind the peritoneum. الباقي كله بيكون intraperitoneal. يعني الباقي كله is filled by peritoneum. I'll repeat them again. إننا أول حاجة الsuprarenal glands أو adrenal glands. إننا الأورطة معها inferior vena cava. الجزنم لكن only the second and third part. الفيرست والفورث جوا. تمام. عندنا البانكرياس excluding the tail. التيل قاعد جوا. في اليوريترز الكولون لكن بس الاسcending والديسcending. يعني لو ده الكولون الاسcending والديسcending ورا لكن الترانسفيرس is inside peritoneum. تمام. في كان الكدنيز الاسوفاجس والركتم. That is if you want to memorize it بالmnemonic ده. Like it's easier. If you can't remember it this way you can remember إنه الكدني معاها اليورتس حقينه في الكولون اللي هو الاسcending والديسcending معاهم الركتم. الكدني ذاتها معاها السوبرينال والاورتا والinferior vena cava because they're like they're found at the last thing in the back, so it makes sense إنهم هما يكونوا ورا peritoneum, right? So just these are the structures which are found behind the peritoneum. Make sure you memorize them. تمام. Last thing we'll talk about الليلة is the lumbar plexus. دي برضو شوية it's an area of questions. It's very annoying and not that many people like it, so I'll be talking about it. يلا lumbar plexus is basically the innervation of the lumbar region كله. تمام. So the nerves that come from the abdomen. يلا lumbar plexus احنا عندنا فيه a lot of nerves. Most of the nerves of the lumbar plexus are not there to supply the abdomen. They're there to supply the lower limb والpelvis. تمام. But we still should know them. يعني في abdomen. تمام. two things you need to know about them is إنه في DR they usually always have one for you. يعني tied بيكونوا مربوطة in the question. So you should know them. You should know two things about them. Their root value. So what nerves are they formed from? يعني L1, L2 كده. And the second thing you need to know about them is their location. عشان شنو? So that you're able to tell which is which. So like if you see it in a DR, how would you know which nerve it is, right? So how do we do that? We relate to the psoas muscle. And to tell which nerve is which, we try to relate to the psoas muscle. Some are medial to the psoas muscle, some are lateral to the psoas muscle, and there's one that's anterior to the psoas muscle. تمام؟ فعندنا الfemoral nerve, which is L2, L3, L4, and it's found lateral to the psoas muscle. في obturator, which is L2, L3, L4, found medial to it. تمام؟ في اثنين بيشبهوا بعض, iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal, which are both L1 and they're both lateral to it. تمام؟ يلا iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal, the best way to know which is which is to see where it goes. If it goes towards the inguinal canal, it's ilioinguinal, and if it's going away from it, it's iliohypogastric. تمام؟ And you just pull it and see where it's going. Most of the time, it's very easy to see the ilioinguinal because it's going towards the inguinal canal. تمام؟ في تاني genitofemoral. This one is very easy to see because it's the only one that's found right above the psoas muscle. So if you look at it, it's literally on top of the psoas muscle. It's my genitofemoral nerve. It's L1 and L2. تمام؟ في تاني الاثنين الأخيرات اللي هم lateral cutaneous of the thigh L2 L3 at laterally lumbar-sacral chunk L4 L5 medially, not that important. So the most important ones are the first five: femoral, obturator, iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal, وgenitofemoral. تمام؟ يلا iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal are usually thinner than the femoral and the obturator. These are very big ones. So if you see a big one that's laterally, it's the femoral. Big one that's medially, it's the obturator. And one that's found right in front of the psoas, it's the genitofemoral one. Small ones that are lateral, iliohypogastric, or ilioinguinal. Then if you could pull it, put it. If you can't, just look where it goes. Like if it's going towards the inguinal canal, it's ilioinguinal. If it's not going there, it's just going in the abdomen, it's iliohypogastric. تمام؟ Look at the drawing again, just to see it better. عندنا من L1 iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal second. يلا iliohypogastric stops at the abdomen. لكن ilioinguinal can go all the way to the inguinal canal, so it's going downwards. تمام؟ في تاني genitofemoral, which is going right on top of the psoas muscle. So it's very obvious. تكون قاعدة on top of the psoas muscle. في تاني the one that's medial to it, obturator is it? Obturator. This even the to see even the drawing is difficult to see, but the obturator is here, which is medial to the psoas muscle. في تاني femoral, which is lateral to it, which is this one, femoral nerve. Femoral nerve is the big one that's lateral to it. تمام؟ يعني again, femoral is the big one that's lateral to the psoas muscle. Obturator is the one that's medial to it. Iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal are the lateral ones, they're small. Genitofemoral is the one that's right on top of it. Clear يا جماعة؟
أكتر شي بسأله من نيوتن.
أكتر شي بيسألوه من الفemoral أول 5 ديل. Like all 5 are asked in exams. Like I can never predict to you which ones they're going to be asked of. Like from my own experience, ilioinguinal was like very common. Femoral or genitofemoral. Like these are the ones I remember being asked. But all the 5 first ones could be asked in the exam. So,
أوكي شكرا.
تمام. طيب. Right. آخر حاجة I just want to talk about really quickly ما مكتوبة هنا is just that I feel like we should mention is the ureter. يلا. Okay. يلا اليوريتر برضه في حاجة one fact that you need to know is that زي الأسوفاجس اليوريتر ذاته فيه constrictions اللي هو فيه 3 حتت 3 areas where it's constricted. تمام؟ constrictions of the ureter الأولى في renal pelvis. تمام؟ So as it's exiting the kidney الثانية wait a second sorry الثانية is in the abdomen ذاتها it's crossed by the common iliac bifurcation. وآخر واحدة is as it enters the bladder. So دي برضه حاجة you should probably know. Like I'm not sure if it's as common to be asked, but just in case you ever get asked, اليوريتر ذاته is constricted in 3 places. هما pelvis when it's in the abdomen crossing the iliac common iliac artery, when it's في البلادر when it enters the bladder. تمام؟ This is one more fact. But this is pretty much it الحاجات اللي بيسألوا منها في abdomen. I hope this was